So in the past, you have met with President Trump to discuss the importance of the wall in connection with deterring child trafficking. So what are your thoughts on the current state of affairs under the Biden administration on the southern border and how that relates to child trafficking?
It may be one of the most devastating policies that a U.S. government has ever put out because wittingly or not, they are facilitating the trafficking of children. 85,000 children, unaccompanied minors, and the CBP data indicates thousands of them were under 5 years old, showed up at our southern border over the last 2 years and were lost. No background checks were done by the sponsors who came to get them. It's literally more difficult to adopt a cat out of a shelter than it is for a sponsor to show up and check one of these kids out and take them into the belly of the United States. And that belly is the #1 consumer of child sex material in the world. That's the United States government. So this is a crisis beyond anything that I've seen, especially when it comes to children. And the United States government is complicit. I hope unwittingly. I don't think they're that ignorant, but the facts are the facts. Kids are being hurt because the U.S. government doesn't seem to care about them.
The Trump administration made this a priority. Now people are flocking to see this movie, The Sound of Freedom. Meanwhile, Biden's DOJ quietly removed portions of its page on child sex trafficking. Why do you think that happened?
I think there's a whole agenda that all these things are attached to. It's not just the 85,000 children. It's not just the fact that they're kind of making less significant things like human trafficking, child trafficking. The California state legislature just pushed out a bill that was given the opportunity to make it a life sentence to sexually traffic a child. There's an agenda that they don't want to have revealed, and that's why they're lying about Sound of Freedom. They don't want people to see this film because there's a bigger agenda to hurt children in the name of liberating them. They're sexualizing our children through sex education, giving them pornography. They are forcing this agenda to make it okay for children to consent to doing outrageous things. But the scary thing is the pedophile groups, I track them, I know them. They're laughing, they're salivating, they're gleeful. Why? Because these are the agenda points they've been pushing for decades. They want kids to consent to doing outrageous things because that's just 1 centimeter away from them being able to consent to having sex with adults. And so the UN just issued a report, or accepted a report, about 2 months ago, saying it's time to consider decriminalizing sex with children. Children can consent. So this whole child consent thing is the devil's play. Pedophiles are laughing, and the leftists are pushing the agenda, and it's frightening.
So CNN had a guest that said the film was creating like a moral panic. Are these players, establishment media, why do you think that they're pushing this agenda? Why, are they aware of what they're doing?
It's bizarre because I think they are aware because those same outlets, Rolling Stone, MSNBC, CBS, CNN, The Guardian, they all posted and wrote glowing stories about the operation that happened on October 11th, 2014. They applauded it. They said that we were good guys. They said, congratulations, you rescued children. 8 years later, those same outlets are pretending that didn't happen. Because this is not QAnon. They want to say, oh, it's QAnon, don't see it. What's QAnon? First of all, I don't know what that is, really. Second of all, this film was produced, written, and done before, 6 years ago, before anyone even knew what QAnon was. So they're lying about it. They're changing their story. They want to pretend it's not happening. And I really believe the motive is they don't want to have a conversation about what's really happening to kids and the consequences to children that their agendas and their policies are having on children. When you let a kid consent to doing anything outrageous, then you're going to have to let them consent to whatever, identifying as a 30-year-old to have sex with a 40-year-old pedophile. They know that this is going to shine a light on all of their agenda that they've been working on for so long, and they're making progress. So they'd rather just pretend none of it's happening. And it's easier just to say, well, maybe sex with kids isn't even that big a deal after all. I mean, that's where they're going now.
So like a slippery slope.
A slippery slope. I mean, they're outraged that we still call people who want to have sex with children pedophiles because that's so degrading. Damn right it's degrading. It's supposed to be degrading. It's supposed to be a red flag. It's supposed to be an alert. Use that term. No, they want to change the term to minor attracted person, normalize it, and attach it to the LGBT community. Thank God that many in the LGBT community are fighting back and saying, no, you're not part, like Gays Against Groomers, for example, you're not part of this community. But this is the wider battle that we're fighting.
So you think the end game is to normalize these things?
Yes, absolutely.
What do you think that the Biden administration specifically is not doing enough of to combat all this at this point?
Well, first and foremost, let's start enforcing the border. The only compassionate policy is enforce the border. You de-incentivize the traffickers. You suck the wind out of their sails. When you open the doors and say, come on in and pretend you're being compassionate, again, you're tens of thousands of children, unaccompanied, young children, are disappearing into the belly of the beast. And they have to know that's happening, but they care about their agenda more than that.
So more specifically, what can people do to fight this in their own communities?
Well, first, we want people to go see the Sound of Freedom, because there's not been a tool like this ever that shines a light on what's happening to children and forces this very important conversation. Beyond that, we're setting up a new fund. It's an umbrella organization that's going to find the best rescue and rehabilitation groups around the world and rapidly deploy resources to them. It's called the Spear Fund, so people can go to the spearfund.org and donate. Help us build this fund up so we can rapidly deploy and rescue more children.